everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Speed Build Sunday. And this build is actually my very first spooky build of this season. And this is also a very special one because, well, as you can probably tell from the title, this is the Spellman Mortuary. So if you follow me on Instagram, you would probably know that I did watch the Chilling Adventures with... what is it? Chilling Adventures of Sabrina series, like the Netflix series, not too long ago. And I kind of just binge watched it, you know, I just binge watched the whole thing basically, and I absolutely loved it. And well, for those of you who don't know the series yet, there might be some spoilers, so yeah, just so you know, don't hate me. But yeah, so I also used to watch the original Sabrina series, like the sitcom from the 90s. And I also used to absolutely love that. That was like one of my absolute favorite like sitcoms back in the day when I was a teenager. And, oh no, was I a teenager? Yeah, probably. Was I? I don't know. Maybe I wasn't. Anyway, so this newer series obviously is not a sitcom. It's actually it's quite a spooky and kind of creepy series, you know. It's a little bit like horror. It's not really a horror series, but it has definitely some like horror-ish aspects, I would say. And it's a very different style and kind of like a different story, I think, in some parts. Or it definitely has like some additions to it, like the story, I think. And like as far as I remember the old, like the sitcom from the 90s. But I have absolutely been loving this, and I've kind of felt like, I don't know, like I was a part of this whole world and like a part of the Spellman family and like I don't know, like one of Sabrina's friends or whatever. And yeah, I actually was super sad when I finished like the last season. And I do hope that there will be another season, which, yeah, we will see about that. Yeah, so anyway, let me just start like talking about the build. So this is the Spellman Mortuary. This is like, it is the Spellman mansion from the series. But the mansion is a mortuary, so that's kind of what they do for a living, like, not being witches, you know? And, so yeah, the house is actually, like, it doesn't really look too exciting at first glance from the exterior, but it's actually very cool. Like, it has a very cool shape. It's very, like, it's kind of complex, actually, and it did take me a while to kind of figure out the whole layout of the exterior. And then also I just wanted to make this look like as spot on as possible. I did try to find as many pictures of the original house as possible to make it really look like as spot on as possible as well. And so the house actually looks black. When you see a picture, you will see that it looks black, you know, it's very dark, but it is actually blue. So it is just a very dark blue, and it took me so long to find the right shade wallpaper. And I did end up using brick wallpaper, which is not what they have in, like, the house is definitely wood paneling, but we don't have wood paneling in this kind of dark blue. And so I decided for me it was more important to have the shade actually match than, yeah, like the material of the wallpaper, if that makes sense. So and also like the foundation, I did not find anything remotely looking like the foundation is basically the same as the paneling, and that didn't work. Like, I would have had to use platforms, and that would have been like a whole situation. I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I decided to use some debug fencing and cover up the foundation, because that kind of, you know, the color kind of matched a lot better than the foundation swatches that we have. So that took me like about an hour just to figure that out, like just for the foundation. So yeah. So yeah, obviously I had to cut like a lot out, you know, because I didn't want you guys to watch me not being able to choose a foundation swatch. So There are some cuts here for sure in this build because this took me a really long time. And I'm actually super proud of this. Like, I'm not usually proud of my builds. I mean, I do usually like how they turn out, but in this case, I'm really actually proud because I do think it really matches the original build pretty well. And it is quite difficult to build something that you know from a movie or a series or something, because you can't find like pictures of everything, but you still want to kind of make it look spot on. And it's quite difficult also because you know, it is a set, so it's a TV set, you know, or like a film set. And so the exterior and the interior will not match, you know. So I know from watching the series, the kitchen is like where I put it. You know, it is on the right side of the house. That's where they go when they go into the kitchen. But it doesn't really make sense from the layout of the exterior. Also the same with Sabrina's room. She has like a big round window, which the exterior doesn't have, like in general. Like if you find pictures of the exterior, you won't see any round windows anywhere. So that's kind of difficult, you know, and you have to kind of make it work and kind of, yeah, figure out a way to combine the two, I think. So yeah, I did really like just put a lot of work and effort into this, and I had a lot of fun doing this. Like, this was definitely one of my absolute all-time favorite builds that I have ever done on my channel as of yet. And but it was a lot of work, and that's why I'm super proud, because I think it did turn out very spot on. Like, I think it is pretty true to the original, and it wasn't easy to make that happen. But yeah, especially actually the kitchen, like the exterior too, and also the kitchen is very true to the original. Like, I was like working so hard on this kitchen, and it's probably bigger than the original kitchen, but that's something that happens quite a lot in The Sims, I think, when you build something from a real reference, because yeah, just because of the what's that called? Yeah, like the proportions in The Sims, you know, we just have tiles, and that often like tends to lead to just having to build on a bit of a bigger kind of scale, you know. So I think the kitchen might be a bit bigger than the original, although, you know, in this series you don't really ever see the whole kitchen. You just see them, obviously you just see them standing or sitting in some space, in some place in the kitchen. So it might be to this scale. I'm not 100% sure. Like, from the pictures that I saw, it's definitely a big kitchen, and there's definitely a lot going on, and there's a lot of shelving and a lot of different kind of areas with different kind of cabinets, and then the stove is in a whole like different area of the kitchen than like the sink and the table and everything. So, and they also have this little like green room like next to the kitchen. So yeah, it is pretty big, but it's really like, that's definitely one of my absolute favorite rooms of this whole build. So yeah, I was really trying to make it look as spot on as possible for the interior as well, like for the decor as well. And I didn't actually talk about it, but you could see me build the entrance area, which is quite like, it's quite impressive, you know. In the series, you come into the house and there's this big staircase, which has like, I think there's at least 3 different kind of areas where, you know, the stairs lead to a platform. And that was kind of hard to make that work. Don't really have that. Not really. I tried to still kind of make it look like the original, which I think it does. And yeah, it's just kind of like a majestic, really majestic kind of impressive area. And I did build the stairs using some debug wood kind of, yeah, I made some kind of wood paneling like along the stairs. And yeah, so that took me a long time as well. And they do, in the original, they do have a carpet in the center of the stairs, which I did not include. I did think of, I have done that before, just using like a, well, basically using 3 different stairs, you know, one on the left, one in the center, and one on the right, and then make the one in the center like a different color, like green or red or whatever, to kind of make it look like it's a carpet on the stairs in the center. But I didn't want to do that here because the carpet just is not a plain color. It's just, it has a very like detailed kind of pattern. And yeah, so I kind of decided to just leave it because it wouldn't have looked like, it looks more like the original without having anything than it would be having like a red stair kind of thing in the center of the other 2 stairs, if that makes sense. So yeah. Also, I did think about using an actual rug and kind of using tulle and somehow kind of figuring out a way to put that onto the stairs, but I thought that would probably kind of be hard to make that functional. And also, like, you know, I had so many things already that I was struggling with that I kind of felt like I don't really have to do that, you know. And also, I think it didn't really work. For some reason, I couldn't really turn the rugs and rotate the rugs. And anyway, I don't know. I don't really remember. It took me a long time. This was a while, like when I finished this, it's a while ago. It was a while ago. Jesus. And yeah, so yeah, the kitchen is, I'm still working on the kitchen. Yeah, that took me a long time. And because also, you know, I mean, it always takes me a long time to finish a build, like really always, but in this case specifically, it really was important to me to make this like, yeah, really true to the original build, because I don't know, I really feel passionately about this series and the show and the characters and the whole aesthetic. It's just very, well, I just really like it, and I think they did a great job. And it's kind of, it has very like witchy, dark, moody kind of vibes, and I love that. That's like, I'm all about that. And so it really was kind of important to me to resemble that in this build and still have it look like cozy. And, you know, because the original build has this very special kind of really dark feel, but it's also very cozy. And also a very interesting thing about this build, in my opinion, is so the witches, like Sabrina's aunts, and also she has a cousin living there, Ambrose, and they are like, I don't know, 300 years old or whatever. You know, they're very old. Sabrina is, she's 16, so she's not that old, but they are very old. So what you find in the house, what I've noticed, is that you will find items from all sorts of centuries, really. Like, you will find very antique, very old items, like super old, but then also you will find like items from like the 20s or from the 50s, 60s, 70s, you know, kind of from every century, really. And that really makes this build very interesting as well, like, because it's a very like a massive mix and match of style and furniture, and it doesn't really make sense unless you kind of know the story of the family, you know. And that was actually super fun to kind of try and make that work. And yeah, also like to take a closer look at the pictures and see like, oh, okay, so this couch, it's more like a 60s kind of style, you know, and the floor might be more like from the 80s maybe, you know. And then there's other stuff that's really like literally, I don't know, like, yeah, probably like, wait, did I say century? I meant decade, obviously. Like, I meant decade. It's kind of hard sometimes. I don't be, you know, English is my first language, and sometimes I mix up words, and then in my head it's the right word, and then I'm so convinced, you know, talking about this, but it's actually like not what I mean. Sorry about that. So anyway, there's stuff from every single decade. Basically, that's what I was trying to say. But yeah, what I was saying now is there are actually also items from like the past century, you know, like the last century. And maybe the one before that too, you know, so like really old items. And yeah, so I think that's very interesting. Right now I'm working on the living room, and yeah, I didn't find pictures of every single room in the house. Well, I mean, yeah, for some pictures I wasn't really sure, because, you know, sometimes you look for pictures from a specific build, and then you find something, but you don't really see any like description of the picture, so you wouldn't really know, is that really like from the set of the series, or is that like just someone that just used a hashtag or something, you know? So I wasn't really always 100% sure. There definitely are some pictures from the living room. I did also, like, in the series, they are in the living room sometimes, so I saw that in the series as well. So I did have some inspiration for that, but yeah, not everything. I didn't really see everything, the whole living room. I think in the series it's quite the open concept. I think there's like doors leading like in, I think maybe 3 ways from the living room, like into 3 different hallways. But that again didn't work with the layout of the house that comes like with the exterior, you know. So yeah, like the layout, like floor plan wise, it wouldn't have worked to make this like it as it is in the series, like the set, because, you know, I mean, that's the thing, the set isn't in the actual house, you know. So anyway, so the living room is super cozy. I absolutely love it. And yeah, it's just this mixture of this mysteriousness, you know, I don't know, having like this skull on the wall, and then like some dark kind of seemingly witchy items, and then also you have like a fireplace and a TV, and like a cozy couch and all that. It's just, I just love that mixture, and I think yeah, I don't know, I would love to have a house like that. I think that's absolutely charming. And yeah, I mean, I've always been like into witches and into fantasy kind of stuff, and although witches and witchcraft and all that, it isn't like all fantasy. It's you know, it has like some background to it, you know. So yeah, I just think that's very interesting. And yeah, I love the living room. I think it's very cozy. It's very small. It's quite narrow actually, and so I did like include some things that I didn't find on any pictures. For example, this kind of I don't know what that is, like a shelf closet cabinet, I don't know. I did kind of make that up myself. That's kind of like 70s inspired in my opinion, and I didn't find that anywhere, but I did want to put something on the wall and not leave it empty, you know, so that's why I included that there. One thing that I did really, I think, manage to pull off pretty well are the paintings or the pictures on the wall, because you can see in a lot of like from in a lot of the photos that I found of the house, they have so many pictures on the wall, and so many different ones, especially like older looking ones with like really like bold frames, and there's like in every room there's like corners where there's like so many pictures, you know, in one spot. And I absolutely love that. Like, that's just my kind of style. So I think I pulled that off pretty well. So this is Sabrina's room, and here you can see I actually added this window. So when I built the exterior, this window, like the round window from Realm of Magic, it wasn't there. I didn't include it. I included it later on because, well, yeah, I mean, you have to have this window because it's just very kind of, yeah, well, it's just kind of like a signature thing for Sabrina's room, you know? So that's why I did include that. I did actually build, like custom build this little bench there, because she has this, again, kind of like 60s, 70s looking kind of bench in front of her bed, and yeah, I think this is the what's that pack called? The Vintage Glamour bar stool, and I just used that and kind of made a lean, and it does actually work. Like, to my surprise, it is functional. And also I will make like a custom little sofa, which is also functional, that you can see me work on right now. So I included these cushions there, and that is functional as well. So I was really surprised about that, actually. And yeah, so Sabrina's room is really cool. It's again kind of like a mixture of a teenage room, but also like witchy, you know, and she has like these old antique kind of furniture as well. And she has this huge dollhouse, which actually looks like, I think it looks like their house, I think. Which this one obviously doesn't, but I couldn't really build a miniature version of the house in the game, so I didn't do that. And oh yeah, also I did actually include this window, which, I mean, the window leads to her aunt's room. But I know it doesn't make sense, but I still wanted to include the window because there is a window in that spot in her room. And from the other side, like from the auntie's room, I just added a cupboard, or I think like a dresser in front of it, so you can actually look through the window. But I don't know, it was kind of important to me to still include it because, again, it's kind of like a, you know, the layout of the room really makes the room, you know. And if there's like a window missing, you would have like curtains missing, and it's kind of a big part of the whole design, you know. So that's why I decided to actually include that window there. And also the door, she also has a door on the left side of her room, which I don't know where it leads exactly. She has another door that leads to the hallway, I think. So yeah, I mean, this door doesn't really make sense in game either, and I do put stuff in front of it, but I still wanted to include it because it is just part of the original room. And yeah, I think this room turned out pretty spot on as well. Actually, with the high school pack, we got some items that are what are they? They are kind of a bit like Art Deco, I think. But I also think they do look a bit 60s, maybe 50s, maybe 70s, some of the items. Probably mainly 60s. I might be wrong. Like, I'm not an expert at like architecture from different decades, but I think, like, yeah, that's kind of what some parts of the aesthetic definitely you can find in the 60s for sure. And yeah, it definitely worked pretty well. She has a bunch of those items in her, like in the original room as well. And she also has like a lot of posters on the wall, and the ones that we have from werewolves actually work great because they do definitely look very like dark and moody and witchy. And also from high school years, there are some posters like that as well. So yeah, that was pretty cool, and that was pretty fun to kind of include the posters, and that's definitely like the one thing that makes the room look very teenage-like, you know. So I really had a lot of fun decorating this room and figuring out how to make it look like for a 16-year-old teenage girl, but who's also like very mature in a way, because, you know, she has like this kind of responsibility as a Spellman witch, and you know, she's, after all, like, she's gonna be well, she has, I don't want to spoil too much, but she's gonna have like a big like responsibility. So yeah, that was really fun to kind of try and make that work and kind of combine these two. And God, it's just such an interesting character. I think in the series she develops like so much, like she evolves so much with the series, you know. In the beginning, she's really like this kind of teenage girl with her own mind for sure, but she just turns out to be such a like yeah, such a witch, you know. So well, yeah, it's just great. I absolutely highly recommend, if you have not watched it And if you are into like Halloween and like dark, mysterious, spooky kind of stuff, you should definitely watch it. So for sure. And yeah, this is the bathroom. And again, here I included these windows, which the right one, like the curved window on the right, also it leads to the office, and it doesn't make sense, I know, but I still wanted to include this because again, for this bathroom, you can actually, it's quite like, you can see it quite a lot in the series, the bathroom. And this window is again like such a signature kind of statement in that room. So I just had to include that, but you know, you just cannot see that anywhere in any of the exterior pictures. So I kind of had to find a way to make this work anyhow, you know. So yeah, so the bathroom is actually gorgeous. I absolutely love it. There's so many candles, and there's this bathtub right in the center of the room. And I think the flooring, I used the flooring from Vampires, I think, and I do think it's pretty spot on. I think the original flooring in the show is pretty much exactly like this one, so that was pretty cool. Also, I think the bathtub in the original pictures, like in the original house, is on a platform, like a tiny platform. I did try to include a platform. I wanted to do that at first, but it did not really work because my roofing was clipping, and I couldn't really change up the roofing, so I decided to just leave the platform, and it's just a very small one anyway, so I figured it's not that important. And yeah, this bathroom really, like, honestly, I think it's so stunning, and these candles everywhere, and the wallpaper and the flooring, you know, it's just so cozy and moody, and I don't know, like, I can definitely see myself like take a bath in that bathtub for sure. Yeah, and then I also included a shower, which that is not part of the original bathroom, I don't think. Well, I mean, you can only ever see the bathroom, I'm pretty sure you can only see it kind of from one direction, you know. You can only see like the shot like on the wall with the windows, you know, from the back of the other wall, which makes sense, you know, because that's probably the only set they have. But I wanted to include a shower as well, and I did use this this room divider, which I think came with a Wedding Stories pack. And yeah, it is kind of just an open shower, but I felt like that kind of works, you know, it kind of works for this room. So yeah, I did use that, and because, you know, I did have the space, and they don't actually have too many bathrooms, like, for the size of the house. And I thought it just makes sense to have a shower in this big, you know, humongous bathroom as well. So that's why I did that. And again, you can just see like a mixture of all sorts of like different decade furniture here, like a very old toilet, and then like some more newer chairs, and yeah, stuff like that. So this is the actual mortuary. You know, actually they really do like autopsies there, like it's kind of like an, I don't know what you would call that, like Ambrose just makes like autopsies on like dead people, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you call that a mortuary or anyway. So yeah, they have like autopsies there, and also yeah, like all sorts of witchy, spooky kind of stuff that they do there, that happens there. And I definitely wanted to include that. And so yeah, it's not like exactly like the original. It is kind of, you don't really see too much of the original, like, I'm just gonna call it mortuary now. So I mean, I know the lighting is definitely pretty good. There's this kind of hospital like lighting, and the chair, like not the chair, the table where the dead bodies lie on, that's pretty good as well. And then I did use a bunch of like get to work items, and also I think Strangerville has some items that worked pretty well. And yeah, I just really tried to make this look like this is an area where there could be some like experiments happening or something like that. and I used these gross like wall decor swatches with like the stains, you know, from, I think they are from Strangerville. And there's one that I put like on the floor, like right beneath the table, which I will change the swatch to red later on. And yeah, I thought that kind of just, you know, makes kind of sense. And yeah, I think this turned out pretty cool. Like, obviously this isn't really like a functional area of the house, but yeah, I mean, this is a big part of the series, and so I mean, it was like a no-brainer. I definitely had to include that. I mean, it's called the Spellman Mortuary, so and also, like, this is the basement of the build, obviously. And I also included, like, the whole basement area is like kind of Ambrose area. So I included a room for Ambrose, which I think you don't really see in the series, like, at all. I don't think like he has a room, which, I mean, he does live there, but I don't think you ever see his room in the series. But yeah, I included a room in the basement, and also in a bathroom down there as well. So I did do that. And then now we're working on the exterior, and I did actually move, like, I did try to move this onto a bigger lot, because there's the graveyard, and there's actually quite the big driveway up to the house, and like a kind of circle where the cars can go around, you know, and in front of the house. And I did like think of moving this to like a bigger lot, but I'm building this in the, what's that word called? The one that came with werewolves. And that world just matches so perfectly with the, like, you know, the town that they live in the series, which I forget what it's called actually. Anyway, so yeah, because, you know, there's a lot of like forest there, like in this world in The Sims, and that definitely like matches perfectly with the original series. And yeah, so I decided to just keep it on this lot and just kind of try and make the scale just a little bit smaller. I would have preferred to have like a longer driveway and have the graveyard be a little bit further from the actual build, but I mean, I think it's fine like this. It's still pretty cool. Like the graveyard obviously is like a big thing of the series as well. Like, it's a big part of the story as well. And yeah, it's just so cool. I keep thinking of scenes, you know, from the show that yeah, that I just loved, you know, and they have this kind of feel to them and this kind of mood. And yeah, anyway, you have to watch it. Like, if you haven't watched it, you have to do it. And yeah, so this is the landscaping. I was actually trying to make this because in the pictures that I found, it's actually pretty wild. Like, the landscaping is pretty, well, first off, it's pretty dry, and also it's very wild. Like, it's not like, they're not really like landscaping kind of people, you know. They don't really take care or maintain like their backyard or front yard for that matter. And so I did really try to make this look like it's an actual like wild kind of how do you say that, like a field or whatever. I don't know the English word, but I think you know what I mean. And yeah, so I did just find like a bunch of debug stuff, like a bunch of grass and, you know, like long grass. And I really just used tool and kind of moved everything around, lowered it into the ground, and kind of tried a couple of different things. And yeah, in the end, I decided to spread this out a lot, to not have like everything covered, because I also wanted this to kind of blend into the environment as well. And yeah, I think that worked pretty well in the end. I also included a bunch of rocks and stones from Debug, and I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I think the landscaping really brought like the whole exterior, really made everything come together, you know. So yeah, I'm really happy with how the landscaping turned out. And also they have this very dry kind of rotten like vines on the exterior as well. And we do have the ones from vampires that kind of work perfectly for that. So I obviously included these as well. And that also obviously makes the house look much more like spooky and yeah, just moody, I think. So yeah, that's what I did. And also I included the car because they have oh god, I don't know what that is called in English, like the car that is responsible for taking away like the corpses, you know. I'm pretty sure they have that on their lot like pretty much all the time. You definitely see that in like pictures of the exterior, like pretty much always. So I included that car there, and yeah, I did actually size that down just a tiny bit because I didn't have enough space to make like the driveway bigger. So yeah, I just decided to do that. And yeah, now I'm just working on the vines. I will add a little bit of exterior lighting, but not too much actually, because there really isn't a lot of exterior lighting. So yeah, the most of the lighting comes from inside, you know. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say. I very much hope that you enjoyed this build. I had so much fun building this. If you liked it, make sure to give this video a like, and of course subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and enjoy the cinematic shots in the end. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!